Lord Chaitanya himself is Krishna himself, in the mood of Radha, mood and complexion of Radha. And Lord Nityananda is Balaram. So as with those two lords, so also all the associates have their spiritual counterpart in Krishna's Leela. So in Krishna's Leela, Sanatana Goswami is known as Rati Manjari and Lavanga Manjari. So how can one entity have two entities? It's not that there's a double soul inside. Rather, the mood, the bhava of both of them are present in Sanatana Goswami. And both Rati Manjari and Lavanga Manjari are very intimate associates of Radharani. So Sanatana Goswami is, in his spiritual identity, in Krishna Lila, is a very intimate associate of Radharani in the Madhurya Rasa. In that same book by Kavi Karnapur, he speaks that also Sanat Kumar, Sanatan Kumar, is entered into the body of Sanatana Goswami. Maybe one of the most celebrated parts of Sanatana Goswami's life was his worship of the deity Madan Mohan. And I'll read something that's also Prabhupada really likes, Brihat Bhagavatamrita. We'll come to that in a moment. But this is a painting of a scene of an exchange between Madan Mohan, the deity of Sanatana Goswami, and Sanatana Goswami. Sanatana Goswami is handing him some offering. And the offering that he's handing him, there's a celebrated story behind this, we'll tell shortly. It's just flour, wheat flour, which is common in that part of India, and water. Mix water and flour, you get dough. And then, because he was poor, or a mendicant, he made the dough into a ball, put the ball into a fire, it burned, and he peeled off the burned part and offered the inside part to Madan Mohan. He didn't even have like a rolling pin to make chapatis. It was just called buddy. And that's what he's giving to Madan Mohan. There's a nice story in this connection, which we'll hear shortly. When we offer our Mangala Charna prayers, this is one of them. So you can say with me. Jayatam Surato Pangor Mama Manta Matergati Mat Sarvasva Padam Bojo Radha Madana Mohano. Translation. Glory to the All-Merciful Shri Radha and Madan Mohan. They are the only shelter of my depraved, and crippled self. Their lotus feet are the be-all and end-all of my life. So this deity, Madan Mohan, is the presiding deity of Sambandha Gyan, or Sambandha Tattva, knowledge of the relationship of all things with the source of emanation, Krishna. Knowledge of that relationship of all things with the source of emanation of all things is called Sambandha Gyan. And Madan Mohan is the presiding deity. And here's a painting, it's not a photograph, of the celebrated temple of Madan Mohan that's situated on the top of Dvadasha Aditya Tila. Dvadasha, just like Dwadashi. It's 12. And it's called Dvadasha Aditya Tila because the son of Aditi, or Aditya, the sun god, became manifested in 12 different forms and made Krishna at the end of the Kaliya Lila, which is some short distance upstream from the Madan Mohan temple, so Krishna could become warm again, because he spent all day in the coils of the Kaliya serpent, and when you spend all that day in the water, you can get cold. So he wanted to get warm, and 12 suns came as he stretched out on top of this tila, or hill. And you see on the left side, there's a painting, an image of Sanatana Goswami worshipping, and you look closely in the background, you see Madan Mohan, his deity. So he did this worship up on top of this hill, and eventually there was a temple that was built, which you see in the drawing here. So we'll come back to that very beautiful history. But for now we're going to go to Prabhupada writing about Sanatana Goswami this way. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami has described Sanatana Goswami in his prayer, Vilapa Kushamanjali, verse 6, where he has expressed his obligation to Sanatana Goswami in the following words. Here's the verse, and in bright red letters there is Para Dukkha Dukhi. Now those who are accustomed to hearing Prabhupada lectures have heard that phrase a zillion times, at least hundreds and hundreds of times. Para Dukkha Dukhi. So you may have wondered, I was always wondering, where's that from? It's from Raghunath Das, describing Sanatana Goswami as being Para Dukkha Dukhi. He's especially kind to the fallen. The translation, I was unwilling to drink the nectar of devotional service. This is Raghunath. I was unwilling to drink the nectar of devotional service possessed of renunciation. What? He's like renunciation personified. But he's speaking like that. Sanatana Goswami, out of his causeless mercy, made me drink it, even though I was otherwise unable to do so. Therefore, he is an ocean of mercy. He is very compassionate to fallen souls like me, and thus it is my duty to offer respectful obeisances unto his lotus feet. And he further writes, Prabhupada, in the same purport, Sri Sanatana Goswami Prabhu, the teacher of the science of devotional service, wrote several books, of which the Brihat Bhagavatamrita is very famous. Anyone who wants to know about the subject matter of devotees, devotional service, and Krishna must read this book. So I don't know about the rest of you, but I want to know about devotees, devotional service, and Krishna. So it's a very wonderful book. But before you read that book, you should read Prabhupada's books very thoroughly, very carefully, because this Brihat Bhagavatamrita is very elevated, very deep, very profound, and not so easily understood, especially if you haven't carefully read Prabhupada's books. So please read Prabhupada's books very carefully. He wrote a number of books, but 5 are most celebrated. Brihat Bhagavatamrita is one. Many of you know what Hari Bhakti Vilas is. Some of you may not. Hari Bhakti Vilas is a how-to manual, how to do everything in devotional service, how to engage in deity worship, how to observe Janmashtami, all the do's and do-nots in Vaishnava life, spelled out. Sanatana Goswami is the author. He wrote a commentary on the entire Srimad Bhagavatam verse by verse, Vaisnava Toshini, and he wrote a commentary on the 10th canto called Dashama, Tipani, and further. Could you turn that off? It's better off. Thank you very much. So these are other books, but these are his most celebrated books. Now we're going to go a little bit to his life, the life of Sanatana Goswami, the transcendental life of Sanatana Goswami. There's a book written by Rupa Goswami that describes the ancestry of Rupa and Sanatan going back several generations. And there are several generations. Source says that they were from South India, and due to some disagreement within the family, they moved from their local place to another place, and then another generation, another place, another generation, another place. And they eventually ended up in Ramakeli, or it's Chandrapur, which is near Ramakeli. And they were basically, Sanatan and Rupa, and their third brother, Anupam, were blackmailed or conscripted into the service of the ruler, the local Muslim ruler, Nawab Hussain Shah. You know, the description that I'm accustomed to hearing is, Nawab was very brutal, and he was also politically astute. That can be a dangerous combination. So he, in his ruling of this area of Bengal at the time, he understood, if I want to rule, I should get a local person to act as my agent. So he knew that Rupa and Sanatan are highly respected by everyone. Everyone. And so he approached them, or invited them to see him, and he gave them two options. Either you assist me in my government affairs, or I'll torture and kill all the devotees in the area. Think about it. Let me know your decision. And of course, they didn't want to do either, but the lesser of the two was they engaged in service of Nawab Hussain Shah. And to compensate them, he gave them great wealth and great facilities, etc., etc. And they assisted him very effectively in government, but their hearts and their personal lives was they were greatly devoted to Krishna. In their land, they built a replica of Vrindavan, a Govardhan Hill, the river Jamuna, and everything, and they were immersed in Krishna Bhakti, which is in big conflict with being in service to Nawab Hussain Shah. And they really didn't like what they were doing, to say the least. The years of their life is very closely resembles or matches the appearance time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And by this time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was residing in Jagannath Puri. And they were hearing about him, because they were from Bengal, and they heard the activities of Lord Chaitanya. So they wrote letters to Lord Chaitanya, and they sent those letters with messengers. And there was no reply. They continued sending letters. And basically the letters were saying, we want to be in your association, help lift us out of this dark circumstance of our life. Eventually they got one reply, And the reply was a little puzzling. Become just like a wife who is attached to another man and will perform her worldly duties to her husband very nicely so he doesn't suspect. But in her mind, she will always be thinking of the other man, waiting for the chance to meet him. That was his letter. Now, if you had a letter like that, what would you do with it? You'd probably be puzzled. But they understood because they're very, very intelligent. I will rescue you, but be patient. And meanwhile, always be looking forward to meeting your beloved, like the young lady that has a paramour. So sometime after Lord Chaitanya took sannyas and did his South India tour, he wanted to go visit Vrindavan, and it took some delays, but he eventually began a journey heading for Vrindavan. And he just took a little detour. He went way out of his way, specifically to visit Ramakeli and give his association to Rupa and Sanatan. And when they met him, I'll just mention briefly, but when they met him, there was a profound expression of humility. There's a statement in another writing called Bhakti Ratnakar, where the author of Bhakti Ratnakar, Narahari Chakravarti, says, through Haridas Thakur, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught tolerance, and through Rupa and Sanatan, he taught humility. I like that. So their humility was astounding and otherworldly. They met him at night. So because they're in the government service, they didn't want to draw attention of Nawab to Lord Chaitanya, just the opposite. They wanted him to not pay attention to Lord Chaitanya. So they went to see him in the dead of night, kind of incognito. And their third brother was also there, Anupam. And they expressed incredible humility, likening themselves to more sinful than Jagai and Madhai, etc., etc., etc. Very humble expression. They're highly learned, highly born, but because they're engaged in the government service of Nawab, they considered they're the most abominable. They're abominable because they're associating with abominable people. They're associating with people who are cow eaters. And they're not, but they're associating intimately in their service. And so, please pick us up. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said in response, I actually had no plan to come here because I'm on my way to Vrindavan. But I came here just for one thing, to give my association to you, to both of you. And he placed his hand upon their heads. And as you see from the painting, they took his feet and put his feet upon their heads with complete humility. He, at this time, gave them the names because they had, whatever their birth name is, we don't know. They had been given names by Nawab to match their service to him, his personal secretary and prime minister, Rupa and Sanatan. And then Sanatan, with all of this expression of humility and everything, I find it really amazing. He made a recommendation to Lord Chaitanya. What's that? It would not be two things. As much as we want your association, it's not advisable to remain here. because the Nawab is impetuous, and he can do anything at any time, and we fear for your safety. So you should leave as soon as possible. And the other, he made some recommendation to Lord Chaitanya, don't go to Vrindavan with thousands of travelers or assistants or persons accompanying you. A sadhu should enter Vrindavan alone, or at most with one person. It's just a cultural point. And Lord Chaitanya didn't take exception to, why are you instructing me? You're falling at my feet. Now you're instructing me. He wasn't instructing. He was giving advice because he's capable of giving advice. So he gave advice. And Lord Chaitanya then went back to Puri, and then later went alone with one person to Vrindavan. So Lord Chaitanya is on his way back to Puri, and they know that. And all three brothers awakened in them a very profound detachment. They were already like, we don't like this service. But now they had to abandon this service. So Rupa and the third brother, Anupam, took the family wealth and in an exemplary manner distributed that wealth. So they gave away their worldly possessions, in other words. And 10,000 coins was put in the care of a grocer for Sanatana Goswami's purposes. So Sanatana Goswami remained behind, while Rupa and the third brother Anupam headed as quickly as they could for where Lord Chaitanya was. And in the painting you see here, there's Sanatana Goswami, who was not going to do his government service. Instead, he was gathering with brahmanas and hearing from the scriptures. And days and days and days passed like this. And then the Nawab was getting a little restless. So he sent a physician to examine him and found he was just fine. So now here in the painting you see Nawab came in person. And very direct, what's going on? My physician says you're well, and I can see that you're well. So what's your plan? I mean, very direct. And Sanatana Goswami said, you are the king, and as the king, you're the representative of God, and if you find that I've done something wrong, then you may punish me as you feel fit. And essentially, I'm not going to be continuing further with my service. So then Nawab said, this will spoil all my plans. I need you to maintain the government while I go off with my armies and conquer new territory. So Sanatana Goswami was not going to yield, and so he put him in jail. And after some time, Sanatana Goswami did something that devotees are ordinarily not supposed to do. He told a big fib and encouraged the jailer to also make a big fib. He spoke in such a way that he said to the jailer, oh, you're a very pious man, and you know how piety is increased by freeing someone from bondage. So please be very pious and free me from bondage. And he said, I can't do that, the Nawab will kill me. Here's 5,000 gold coins, and you can just tell the Nawab, here's a lie. Tell the Nawab that Sanatan was, had to go past Stool by the river, and when he went to the river, he jumped in the river with his shackles on, and I went to rescue him, but he drowned, I couldn't find him. And in fact, here's not just 5,000, here's 7,000 gold coins. And the jailer went for it. He released him from the shackles, and immediately Sanatana Goswami departed. And he made a straight line from where Lord Chaitanya was. Meanwhile, Rupa Goswami, meanwhile, there was one assistant who was assisting him to cross over the mountains to get to where Lord Chaitanya was. And when he reached way, way, way up on a hilltop, there was a local ruler who treated him so nicely. Sanatana Goswami was wondering, why is he treating me so nicely? He doesn't know me at all, but he's being so nice. Being a government officer, he understood. He wants something. So he asked his servant, Ishan, you have any gold coins? Ishan said, I have 7 gold coins. But he actually had 8 gold coins. I have 7 gold coins. And so give them to me. And the next morning, Sanatana Goswami gave them to this government officer, or government man, or innkeeper, or whatever it was. And, you've been very kind to help me. Here's 7 gold coins. And the man said, oh, very good that you've given it to me, because I was going to kill you to get the 7 gold coins. But now that you've been so honest and straightforward with me, I'll help you get on the other side of the mountain here. And Ishan kept the 1 extra gold coin for himself. So he's showing diplomacy in getting released from the jailer and saving his life and crossing the mountain. And eventually he gets to the place where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is. And you see he's wearing this nice blanket. There's something that happened in between. Sanatana Goswami was married, and his wife's brother was living somewhere where Lord Sanatana Goswami stopped by and paid a visit. And his brother-in-law wanted him to stay with him. And he said, I'm sorry, I can't stay with you. So then his brother gifted him with a nice, he said, silken wrapper, in a nice chadar. Very expensive looking one. That one looks pretty expensive. And so that's the condition he was in when he met Lord Chaitanya. He was at the house of Chandrasekhar in Varanasi. And Lord Chaitanya told Chandrasekhar, see if there's a sadhu outside your door, because he wasn't going to go in without being invited in. And Chandrasekhar returned saying, there's no sadhu out there, there's just a Muslim mendicant. He said, bring him in. And it was Sanatana Goswami. Omniscient Chaitanya Mahaprabhu knew that this is Sanatana Goswami. He's come. Because they had met once. Now he's come. He released him. And Sanatana Goswami was told to take his meal, take his bath, make him look like a gentleman, shave off his beard because he had a Muslim beard, and he hadn't eaten for days. And when Sanatana Goswami was going to take his bath by the river Ganges, he had this plan, this nice silken wrapper. He approached a poor man, a sadhu, by the side of the Ganges who had taken his bath, and his torn quilt was lying on the earth to dry in the sun. And he asked the sadhu, could you please exchange your torn quilt for my blanket? And the sadhu said, this isn't, you're a gentleman, don't speak funny words like this. Why are you speaking insulting things? He said, no, I mean it. I'd like to exchange this for that. When Lord Chaitanya saw that he had this torn quilt,
Sorry, the Zoom video, they cannot see you, so just keep it in light for the live stream.
oh, they want to see me.
It's
I want
very
them
dark.
to. All right, all right,
They don't see this.
all right, all right, all right. I want everybody to be able to see the screen.
Turn his lights, please.
Go ahead.
Tell me
Okay. Because the sun sets and it's making it a little difficult for the Zoom people. Okay, Hare Krishna. Hey, it looks like party lights. Huh? Janmashtami lights. Okay. Good plan, huh? Very good. Thank you. Okay, so Lord Chaitanya appreciated. It's a very nice conversation. Lord Chaitanya said, you've taken the life of renunciation, because they gave away all their wealth. But, Lord Chaitanya said, well, a good physician doesn't just cure the disease, but takes away even any trace of the disease, so the person cannot contract the disease again. That's a good physician. Similarly, what you have done is this little attachment to this nice quilt, which came from your brother-in-law, you've understood best to not have it. And so you've given it up. Very good, very good, very good. And while they were together in Varanasi, Lord Chaitanya gave him extensive instructions. He stayed with Lord Chaitanya for 2 months. And every day, Lord Chaitanya would give him nice teachings. For 2 months. How'd you like that? Lord Chaitanya is your personal teacher for 2 months. Whew. And it's found in Chaitanya Charitamrita in the Madhya Lila. And there's a verse, 2 verses, where it gives the essence of these instructions that Lord Chaitanya gave him. O Sanatan, you should 4 things. Broadcast the revealed scriptures on devotional service. Excavate lost places of pilgrimage in the district of Mathura. Establish devotional service to Lord Krishna and Radharani in Vrindavan. You should also compile bhakti scriptures and preach the cult from Vrindavan. So there's the 4 essential instructions, along with details and details and details of the science of bhakti and so many things. Broadcast, write, establish places of pilgrimage, and preach the cult to others from Vrindavan. So he lived the rest of his life in Vrindavan. So he then sent him to Vrindavan after those 2 months, and he stayed there saying, you can join me sometime later in Puri. So he went to Vrindavan, stayed in Vrindavan for some time, and then not too long, because he was too much wanting to be with Lord Chaitanya again, and he made his travel through the Jharkhand forest. As the places he went, he was very, very meticulous. He found out which places he visited and followed the very same path, and then asked the local people in the forest, tell me the pastime that Lord Chaitanya performed while here, while there, the next place, the next place. He's totally attached to Lord Chaitanya. Unfortunately, while passing through the Jharkhand forest, he drank water from a place he shouldn't have. And as a result of drinking water from a place he shouldn't have, his body became infected with a disease. And a particular type of disease that had sores that were oozing some smelly, pussy stuff from the open sores. We call it, weeping sores. One of the ways it's described in English language. And so that became a big problem. It became a big problem because Lord Chaitanya liked to embrace Lord Sanatana Goswami, and Sanatana Goswami knew that's a big offense. Rub this yucky stuff all over the body of Lord Chaitanya. So it's a long story, and to make a long story short because it's late, there was this whole series of Lord Chaitanya told him, Sanatan, you surrender to me. You cannot take your life. Because one of his plans was, he would see Lord Chaitanya, throw his body under the wheels of the Jagannath chariot, and give up his life. But you've surrendered your body to me, so you can't take it. It's my property. I have plans for that body. You can't destroy it. And Sanatana Goswami was very surprised because he didn't tell anybody his plan. And that means he knew that Lord Chaitanya was omniscient. He knew his heart. So then he got some advice from Jagatananda, stay for Rath Yatra, and then after Rath Yatra go back to Vrindavan. That news got back to Lord Chaitanya, and he scolded Jagatananda. What kind of rascal is Jagatananda? Telling Sanatana Goswami, who is your worshipable superior, to do something like this. So he dismissed that instruction. He can't return back to Vrindavan. So he can't give up his life. He can't leave. And he's got these yucky sores. And then whenever he would visit Lord Chaitanya, he would scoot away. Don't touch me. This body is abominable. And Lord Chaitanya would embrace him anyways. And say, just like a mother. And their small child, the small child is unclean, but they embrace their small child because they love the small child. So I embrace you because I love you. And then he would embrace him. He was like, oh, what to do? So one time something like that happened and poof, his sores went away. Just like a miracle cure. And observing this, as you see in the painting, there's Haridas. And when Lord Chaitanya left, he said, Haridas said to Sanatan, you're such a recipient of Lord Chaitanya's mercy. He personally put you into this difficulty where you were checkmated. You couldn't do this, you couldn't do that, you couldn't do that. You're completely dependent upon Lord Chaitanya's mercy. And then he pulled away the disease. He made you completely dependent upon him. And then pulled away the disease. Just see, you're a recipient of such mercy. And Sanatana Goswami, being very intelligent and expert, said, no, you're the greatest recipient of Lord Chaitanya's mercy because you're perfect in both behavior, achar, and your preaching, prachar. You're superlative, you're the best. Eventually, Sanatana Goswami returned after another 2 months, if I recall correctly. He returned back to Vrindavan, and while he was in Vrindavan, he performed this activity where, like he did as the prime minister of the government, he was like the elder personality who everybody looked up to, and he knew everybody's everything. Because he was a mendicant, he would perform madhukari. You know what madhukari means? Madhukari? He would go from door to door with his cloth outstretched and ask for alms from household ladies. And whatever he would receive, that was his meal. But he wasn't just asking for meal, he was giving his association to them. And then eventually he started going around from village to village. It's a very detailed description in Bhakti Ratnakar. I think we're going to get there. But one of the places that he went was Mathura, where there was a Brahmin named Purushottam Chobe. Purushottam Chobe had been given a deity that was found by Advaita Acharya. That deity was Madan Mohan. And Advaita Acharya found the deity, worshipped the deity. Before he returned back to Mayapur, he gave the deity to one nice Brahmin in Mathura. And that Brahmin in Mathura was worshipping the deity. And I don't know how I'm going to do this. I'm going to have to shorten these nice stories, because it's already 10 minutes to 5. There's a lot more stories. Purushottam Chobe, make a long story short, was informed by the deity. It's a nice story, but he was informed by the deity, I want to be worshipped by Sanatan. So he was worshipping the deity, he loved the deity, but the deity wanted to be worshipped by Sanatan, so he brought him to Sanatan. And Sanatan declined, saying, I can't worship a deity. I'm a mendicant, I don't have anything. I'm not qualified, and I don't have anything to offer. Okay. So one of the versions I like is that the Sanatana Goswami had a conversation with Madan Mohan, saying, I'm a mendicant, I don't have anything to, he said, I'll just accept whatever you have. He said, but if you find it inconvenient, I'll take you back to Purushottam Chobe's home. And it was a deal. So here's that painting again, where he's offering badi, that's flour and water mixed, put into fire, burns on the outside. You take the outside burned part out, and it's cooked on the inside. And he was offering with no salt. So one time the deity said, a little salt? And Sanatana Goswami said, I'll take you back to Purushottam Chobe. I don't have anything. Okay, I'll accept. Then there's a nice version that I like, and that is, the very next day, there was a wealthy merchant that was taking a boatload of salt up the river Jamuna, to a port where he would sell it. However, his boat got stuck on a sandbar. And whatever he tried to do to get the boat free, it didn't work. And somebody said, there's a sadhu up there on the hill. Maybe if you get his blessings, your boat will become freed. So he went up the hill, met Sanatan. And Sanatan said, you pray to Krishna and everything will be nice. So his boat became freed. And when he sold the whole load of salt, he came back and donated the money to Sanatana Goswami, who didn't need money, but it was used for building a temple. So that's the Madan Mohan temple story. That's one of them. And at the top of the hill, there's a little place where there's the place where Sanatana Goswami would sit and worship his deity, hanging his deity from a tree. And over to the side of this place, there's a well. Now, those of you that have been in Vrindavan, you know fresh water in Vrindavan is really rare. Most of it is salty. But there was a well, and there is a well that's still fresh water, right next to the place where, because he's going to worship Madan Mohan, you have to have nice fresh water. And the well is still fresh water. So here's a painting, or a photograph of a painting, of Sanatana Goswami offering to Madan Mohan his little simple offerings. Here's an aerial view of the Madan Mohan temple. And as you see on top of the hill, there's some group. They're gathering and hearing some katha. And on the opposite side, let's do this. I'm going to use a laser pointer. I hope it works. Can you see? That's where the door of the temple is. And now we're looking at the door of the temple from the other side. There's the walkway going up, and there's the door of the temple. And here's the walkway going up. And when you go inside the temple, this is what you see. These aren't the original Madan Mohan deities that Sanatana Goswami worshipped. They're the replacement deities because the original deities were taken to Jaipur. Now there's a wonderful story of they didn't stay in Jaipur too long. After some time, Madan Mohan were taken to Karoli. How did that happen? Here's a photograph of the deities of Madan Mohan. And what happened was, the princess in Jaipur was asked if she would be willing to marry the young prince who lived in Karoli. And she said, I'm too attached to Madan Mohan. I will only marry if Madan Mohan can come with me. Pretty cool. And so a kingly agreement was made, and Madan Mohan shifted in a grand procession and a big festival along with the wedding from Jaipur to Karoli. And so this is the deity that's now in Karoli. Here's an ISKCON temple that has made a set of deities that look just like Madan Mohan, with Lalita on one side and Radha on the other. And here's the actual deity that's in Jaipur, in Karoli. And another last photo, this is the deity dressed in a special occasion. And the special occasion is once, after the Rasa Lila dance, Krishna was resting under a tree when the gopis stole his crown and flute. They gave them to Srimati Radharani, who dressed as a king. There she is. And Sri Krishna had to become her doorkeeper. So he's got a big sword to protect Radha, the doorkeeper of the king, to get his crown and flute back. So in Karoli they have this once a year, deity dressing. Very nice. Those of you that visit Vrindavan, you'll know that just down the road a little bit, there's a second Madan Mohan temple. And this is the deities on that second Madan Mohan deity altar. Sanatana Goswami, in addition to staying on top of Dwadasha Aditya Tila, he had different residences here and there, and one of them was at Shamakund. You see in the painting on the left, there's a photograph, a drawing, Shamakund, and with the red circle around it, that shows where the Madan Mohan temple is. The photograph on the right side is what you see when you walk in the main gate, and on the left side, where those ladies are, that's his Bhajan Kutir place, and the altar, where there's Madan Mohan deities on that altar. And if you go to the back side of this property, that was where Sanatana Goswami did his bhajan, you'll see the back side of, the opposite side of Shamakund, a place that's called Manassa Pavan Sarovar, or Manassa Pavan Ghat. A little background. Manassa Pavan Ghat is a celebrated place at Shamakund. It's a place where the gopis would go every day at noon and take their bath. And then after taking their bath, they would have pastimes together and Krishna would come and join them at Radhakund every afternoon. And a very interesting pastime took place here, connected with Sanatana Goswami. The pastime that took place is his younger brother, Rupa Goswami, would regularly have the practice of having Sanatan look over everything that he wrote and make comments. So he left some writing with Sanatana Goswami, and after some time Sanatan began reading, and when he was reading, he read a description of Radharani's braid down the back as looking like a black snake. And Sanatana Goswami thought, that's not nice. How are you going to describe Radharani's braid as a black snake? So he went to take his bath, heading towards Shamakund, and what he saw was some girls on the opposite side, where Manassa Pavan Ghat is, playing and laughing, and one of them turned and he saw what looked to him like a black snake crawling up the girl's back. So he called out, "Look out! It's a snake! Look out!" And they turned astonished, smiled, and then poof, they just disappeared. And then he understood that was Radharani and the gopis. So next time Rupa Goswami came and said, "How'd you like the writing?" I said, "I really liked it. Especially like the part with the braid, like a black snake." So Sanatana Goswami is here explained as having direct darshan of Radharani's pastimes. How elevated. How fortunate. Another place where he had a bhajan kutir area was at Pavan Sarovar. Pavan Sarovar is very near to Nandagram. Those of you that have been to Vrindavan, you know where Nandagram is. It's Nanda Maharaj's palace. And at the base of Nandagram is a lake called Pavan Sarovar. Pavan Sarovar. And when, in the photograph, that's Dinabandhu, of course, everybody knows Dinabandhu. He's standing in front of the gate. That's the entrance to Sanatana Goswami's bhajan kutir. Now before there was a bhajan kutir, there was nothing. Because the whole of Vrindavan was nothing, it was just a jungle. And so he went to this place knowing what it was spiritually, and he was just, he liked seclusion. So he was just engaged in his bhajan. But Krishna came and brought him a pot of milk. Very similar to what happened to Madhavendra Puri. Brought him a pot of milk. And he said, "How'd you know I was here?" He said, our village people, they saw you coming, and in our village no one goes hungry, so the ladies asked me to bring this milk to you. And as he was drinking the milk, he felt an unparalleled ecstasy, and he understood that was Krishna bringing him milk. Later, by Krishna's inspiration, the local village people built this little bhajan kutir, which you'll see shortly. There's the inside from an upper view, and on the right side, this is the bhajan kutir from the ground view. And there's a little entrance into the bhajan kutir that you see on the left side of this photograph. A few more points, and I'll try to wind up quickly. But this is a meditation on the exalted six Goswamis who have their function in Krishna's Leela, but also in Lord Chaitanya's Leela. The book that you see illustrated on the left side is Bhakti Ratnakar. It gives a detailed description of what Sanatana Goswami's life was like in Braj. And I already touched on this, but he was like a village elder. He went from village to village and spent the night. When he reached the village, everyone received him. He knew everybody, everybody knew him. He knew all the XYZ, everything about marriages and illnesses and business and family quarrels and how their crops had grown. And he knew everything about everybody. And he would give them advice, and they would follow his advice because they looked up to him like a loving father. And he was a transcendental loving father. And he spent the night. They were, into the night talking, and in the morning when it was time to get up and doing his morning duties, when he would leave, they would walk with him to the edge of the village and call out, "When will you come back again?" And then he would depart, and his life was like that. He was the village elder. He was very affectionate to everyone and very well informed. With that in mind, here's another celebrated painting. Many of you have seen this painting many, many times. It's Rupa Goswami writing, and often the background is Radharani, because the painting is illustrating an event where it was Sanatana Goswami's birthday. Rupa Goswami was a mendicant and didn't have anything, but he wanted to give something to his brother on his birthday. So writing, and having that transcendental loving desire in his heart, here comes some young girl from the village saying, there was a wedding in the village and I was told to bring this sweet rice to you so you can give it to your brother for his birthday. And then she departed, and Rupa was thinking, this is a wonderful arrangement. So after some time, where he was writing, this is at Ter Kadamba, it's maybe half a mile or so, maybe a little more, maybe a mile away from where he was. So he walked with his pot of sweet rice, gave it to Sanatana Goswami, saying, "This is a gift for your birthday." And he started eating it, and his hair was standing on end. "Well, this is really special. Where'd you get this?" And he described. And Sanatana Goswami could understand the circumstance. This was Radharani. And now you're making me accept some service from Radharani? She's made. I know where the weddings are. There's been no wedding. But he kept eating the sweet rice because it was a gift from Radharani and very transcendentally nice. Everybody knows the story of Sanatana Goswami's touchstone, so I won't take time because it's late already. Quickly, there was a poor Brahmin in Vrindavan that had to marry his daughters and had no wealth, and so he got this bright idea. Sanatana Goswami is known to be very charitable. I've heard that he has a touchstone. Let me be bold enough to go and ask him for the touchstone. And he asked him for the touchstone, and sure enough, Sanatana Goswami says, "Sure, I've got a touchstone. And sure, I'll give it to you. And you want to know where it is? It's over there in the rubbish pile." So the man went to the rubbish pile, and sure enough, the touchstone, when he took it back to his home, he touched to base metal and it turned gold. Now I'm rich. But he was a Brahmin, so he understood, wait a minute, if you got this in the rubbish pile, he's got something more valuable. So he went back and asked him for that something more valuable. And Rupa Goswami gave him the holy name. There's another nice pastime with Sanatana Goswami in relation to Jagatananda Pandit. Now it's 7 minutes after 5, and I'm in anxiety. Keep going? Keep going. The detail of these narrations is being shortened out. It's not as sweet, but here we go. Jagatananda Pandit was very deeply attached to Lord Chaitanya in a very funny way also. So one time he, Jagatananda, who was very expert at cooking, was with Sanatana Goswami, and he noticed Sanatana Goswami had a turban. And he asked, "Where'd you get the turban?" And Sanatana Goswami said it was a gift by Mukunda Saraswati. Mukunda Saraswati is a Brahmin, is a Brahmin, but he's a Mayavadi Brahmin. And Jagatananda turned on Sanatana Goswami and raised his cooking pot and was going to smash him in the head, saying, you're an elevated devotee of Lord Chaitanya. How can you put a cloth on your head of something that wasn't given to you by Lord Chaitanya? And he was ready to smash him with a pot. And Sanatana Goswami was in ecstasy, saying, your love for Lord Chaitanya is incomparable. Who has love for Lord Chaitanya like you? I'll remove the turban, no problem. And Jagatananda then realized what he had done, and he apologized. I can't help it. I have so much attachment for Lord Chaitanya. I can't bear to see you wearing a cloth that wasn't a gift from Lord Chaitanya. That's the kind of relationship that Jagatananda had in this exchange with Sanatana Goswami. Another nice story that there isn't time to tell the detail of, but you notice there's a hole, like a cave, and inside the cave is the jaws of a crocodile. You can see that? Yes? There's a nice history that's told many, many times of a traveling pundit that came to town in Vrindavan. He was told that Rupa Goswami is the most exalted scholar, so he went to debate Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami said, "Oh, you're too elevated. I'm easily defeated by you." They said, "Very well, then sign this thing saying that I've defeated you." Yes, yes, yes. Then the man also then heard that Jiva Goswami is very qualified, so he went to Jiva Goswami. "Look, even your teacher has been defeated by me." So Jiva Goswami, to defend Rupa Goswami's honor, didn't believe it, and so he defeated him. And he came back to inform Rupa Goswami, "I've defended your honor." And this traveling, arguing person has been defeated. And Rupa Goswami said, "This is not what Vaishnavas do. You're not qualified to live in Vrindavan. You should leave Vrindavan. You don't engage in wrangling and debating with people that are materialistic people." So Jiva took it seriously, and he left Vrindavan, went upstream in the direction of Mathura, and he found a place to live, a cave that was an alligator hole by the side of the river Jamuna. And he was getting mean and thin. He wasn't eating. It's a long story, but the people of when Sanatana was doing his Madhukari, including in Mathura, he was told, "There's this sadhu, we don't know who he is, but we're worried about his well-being. We'd like to show you where he is, and maybe you can help him." So he took him to where Jiva Goswami was, and he looked a wreck. He was very concerned for his life. So he coaxed him out of this hole somehow and brought him back to Rupa Goswami. There's different versions, but had him wait outside Rupa Goswami's bhajan kutir and said, Rupa, I have a question for you. Yes, what's that? According to the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, what is the greatest quality of a Vaishnava? And Rupa said, Jivadaya, mercy to the jivas. Very good. And here's one jiva. Give him your mercy. He's very repentant for what you were unhappy with. So Rupa Goswami embraced him and everything was made nice by the mercy of Sanatana Goswami. There's another story which I'm going to skip that comes from Bhakti Ratnakar. Well, I'll tell the story. In Bhakti Ratnakar, there's a description of Rupa Goswami was in meditation while chanting japa. His eyes were closed, meditating on the holy name, and in his mind a pastime appeared, a pastime where Krishna was combing Radharani's hair, as you see in the painting. And Radharani picked up a mirror as people would normally look at themselves, but she was looking at Krishna. And the gopis saw she was looking at Krishna, not looking at herself, and they started laughing. And Rupa Goswami was laughing. Exactly at the same time that he was laughing, one very elderly mendicant passed by, who was lame and wasn't walking properly. And that elderly mendicant thought that Rupa Goswami is laughing at me? He's the most elevated Vaishnava in all of Vrindavan. Why is he laughing at an old lame man? So his mind was disturbed. So he went to Sanatana Goswami and told him what happened. And Sanatana Goswami said, I'll look into it, I'll get back to you. So later, sometime, Rupa Goswami came and told him, I was meditating on this beautiful pastime of Radha and Krishna, and my meditation broke. And as much as I tried to enter into that meditation again, I couldn't enter into that meditation again. And Sanatana Goswami said, I think I understand why. Because when this very humorous pastime was taking place, this mendicant was walking by, and he thought you were laughing at him. Although you weren't laughing at him, you were laughing at a pastime of Radha and Krishna. So you go to him and explain to him why it was that you were laughing, because he thinks you were laughing at him. So they went, Rupa Goswami explained, the man fell at his feet, said, oh, how could I think bad things about you? You're such an elevated person. And Rupa Goswami fell at his feet saying, I've offended you and please forgive me, and everything became nice. And here's the words from Bhakti Ratnakar about this pastime. The author writes, Oh, my brothers and sisters, please be very careful in dealing with Vaishnavas. Give them even your very breath, so they will forgive your offenses. Be careful. Do not see Vaishnavas' faults. Always praise the Vaishnavas. The ancient great devotees say, no one understands the ways of Vaishnavas, though his dear devotee, Lord Chaitanya, has taught this truth to us, through. Hold the devotee's lotus feet to your head and dive into the nectar of pure devotional service. That's a Bhakti Ratnakar lesson from this exchange. And I'm trying to go quickly. I'm almost done. I promise you I'm almost done. Here's another bhajan kutir place of Sanatana Goswami, which he stayed at during the concluding years of his life, or at least part of it. And it's by the side of Manassa Ganga. And inside that bhajan kutir is a photograph of Sanatana Goswami engaged in chanting japa. And just 10 yards away, is a deity of Lord Shiva called Chakaleshwara Mahadeva. It's one of the 5 principal Kshetrapal Shivas, or protectors of the Dham. Here's what it looks like during the morning. Here's what it looks like in the midday. Person's worshiping Lord Shiva this way. And here's what he looks like at night. And according to the legend, Sanatana Goswami was bothered by too many mosquitoes. And so he decided, it's my meditation, my japa, so I'm going to leave. And that evening, a sadhu came, Lord Shiva came, and instructed him, please don't go. And I promise you, all mosquitoes will go away. And so he agreed, okay, I'll try. And mosquitoes went away. And from that day until today, no mosquitoes in that Chakaleshwara Mahadeva area. While residing here at Manassa Ganga, Sanatana Goswami had the practice even into his 80s, where he would circumambulate around Govardhan Hill. And it was very difficult because he was so old. So the celebrated event where Krishna came and told Sanatana Goswami, you're so old, you don't need to do this anymore. He said, I've taken a vow. So Krishna placed his foot in a Shila of Govardhan and said, you just circumambulate this a few times every day, and this is as good as going around Govardhan Hill. That very same Shila is today at the Radha Damodar temple. And for a few rupees, they'll show you. And after he departed at Manassa Ganga, the deity was taken to the Radha Damodar temple, and his body was taken to his Samadhi by the Madan Mohan temple. Madan Mohan temple up on top of the hill. Here's what it looked like years ago. Notice the shape of the dome. Here's what it looked like sometime after that. The place extending out in front so that the pilgrims could be in a shade when they took darshan and paid obeisances and respects. And then this is where it's gotten painted up nicely. Here's what's inside, is the Samadhi of Sanatana Goswami. And here's a nice painting of Sanatana Goswami. And I finally got to the end. So Sanatana Goswami, along with the other 5 of the 6 Goswamis, they're very, very elevated personalities. And our lives, we don't so often think of them. I can say I don't so often think of them. It's not as much as I could and should and want to. So I decided to spend some time with each of them, one after the next, and just try to get absorbed in hearing their glories. And one of the presentations we'll sing together the Shri Guravastaka, or Sad Goswami Astaka, excuse me. A very nice song. So it's a whole package, a seminar on the 6 Goswamis in Vrindavan. And Sanatana Goswami is the elder amongst them all. That's why we started there. And my apologies for going past time. Let's see if there's some discussion. Or, oh, look at.
So,
did Sanatana Goswami do what?
Most of his life in Vrindavan.
Yeah, he spent the last part of his life in Vrindavan. He spent the first part of his life not in Vrindavan. The first part of his life was with Nawab Hussain Shah. But he was young, and he lived many years. He was in his 80s when he left this world. So most of his life was in Vrindavan. But some of it was also in Puri with Lord Chaitanya. But most of his life was in Vrindavan, yeah. Okay.
told the story of Sanatana Goswami being served milk by Krishna, and he was in ecstasy when he realized it. My question is, was he also feeling bad because, as you explained, he was feeling bad that Rupa Goswami took milk, or took sweet rice from Radharani, and there's those two stories where Sanatana Goswami sort of chastises Raghunath Das Goswami because he was taking service from Krishna and he was taking service from Radharani. So my question is, did he simultaneously feel a little bad that he took
The sweet rice or the milk?
No, the milk.
We don't. I only heard this once from Bhakti Chaitanya Swami, and in the narration didn't say how he felt. He really liked the milk, though. That much we know.
I have a question that Sanatana Goswami has given his life before the chariot ride, going to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that he has some problem on his body.
They're from where?
Like he has the...
Speak slowly, because I'm a little deaf. Be kind to me. I'm half deaf.
Like Sanatana Goswami body is full of wounds and...
Yes.
Yes.
Weeping sores.
Yes, sores. So he just wants to have to give up his body before the chariot.
Yeah.
Like how to take that mood? Like how to have to take that mood?
Well, his mood was love for Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya said, it's not so easy. If it was so easy, I'd join you. We can't just give up our body and go back to Godhead. But your question wasn't that. Your question was, how do you get that attachment? Well, it's rare. We read in Nectar Devotion, it's rare. It's rarely achieved. So the recommendation from Rupa Goswami is we follow Sadhana Bhakti to get to the stage of Bhava Bhakti, so we get to the stage of Prema Bhakti. We just have to nicely follow, so we can get to that stage. And associate with those that have their advanced devotees, so we can become like them. And we associate by hearing, and by serving, by remembering, by praying, by all those essential core practices. But do them sincerely. Not just mechanically, but sincerely, wishing to get that special favor. It's by the mercy, by descending mercy it comes. Yeah? Krishna Priya over there.
Honestly, hear about how when we chant the holy name, Nama, Rupa, Guna, and Leela.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
question is, with Sanatana Goswami, is he directly participating in the Leela, or is the pastimes revealed?
The pastime was revealed. There's a book by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in which he writes at the end of the book about how the pastime of Radha and Krishna became known to him. And he writes that on such and such date and such year, this Vishwanath Chakravarti was seated by the side of Radhakund, absorbed in meditation, and the mercy of the divine couple was revealed to him in this way. So it's revelation. That's how. Yes?
Hare Krishna. You mentioned that Sanatana Goswami
Hold it closer. I mentioned that Sanatana Goswami
requested to Lord Chaitanya to go alone to the Vaisna. And at the same time, people from North Mayapur, they used to visit to the Jagannath. Sometimes, I don't know how many times they used to
I got about 30% of what you said. Can somebody help me?
Yes, Sanatana Goswami told Lord Chaitanya that
No, speak into the microphone.
microphone.
Yeah, it helps.
Okay, Sanatana Goswami told Lord Chaitanya that you shouldn't go with a lot of people to Vrindavan. You should just go with you one alone or with one person. But yet they had parikrams that was to Jagannath Puri with so many people would go. So why is that?
During Lord Chaitanya's time or during our present time?
Lord Chaitanya's time,
And present time.
present time too.
Both. Well, he's a sannyasi. He, Lord Chaitanya, is going to visit the Holy Dham. He's not doing a parikram yatra, a big introducing people to the places of pastimes in Puri or Vrindavan. He's just going as a sadhu. It's the circumstances altogether different. Altogether different. Up front here. Madan Mohan. You're on.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I was wondering how did Advaita receive Madan Mohan?
How did he find?
Or receive Madan Mohan, yes.
How did he find the deity?
Yes.
He was residing at that place, and it doesn't give. I don't know of any detailed description. There may be, but I don't know of any detailed description. Just that he detected maybe part of the deity was sticking out of the earth, or something. It doesn't say. Or he just intuitively, it was revealed to him the deity is here in the earth, underneath that tree. So the detail is not presented, but somehow he came to know, and he removed the deity from the earth, cleaned the deity, and worshiped the deity. That's the best I can do. Nice question. Early Vadika, one more. And then we're going to end here.
I wonder if you can confirm or do away with the story that I heard that on Guru Purnima, the residents of Vrindavan, they celebrate, they circumambulate Govardhan.
Yes.
But I've heard it wasn't because it was Guru Purnima, but it was actually Sanatana Goswami's, I believe, disappearance.
Yes.
And they were honoring him because of
Yes.
what you said. He was
Yes.
like the
Yes.
signifier.
Now, not everyone has that historical reference, but many. Many. Okay, thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Would you like to lead Kirtan?
No, I'm going to go. I have to drive to New York.
जय जगन्नाथ जगन्नाथ
जय जय जगन्नाथ ओ जय गोरा चांदे आरतिक शोभा जयो जानवी तत्वान अगमन लोभा जानवी तत्वान Ragamanalo Dakine Nitai Chan Bame Gadadara Dakine Nitai Chan Bame Gadadara Nikate Advaita Shri Vasa Chatradhara Nikate Advaita Shri Vasa Chatradhara Bodhi Yate Goracha Ratna Simhasani Yate Goracha
दो बजाना
Arati Kore Ma Brahma Adi Devatane Hari Adi Kori Amara Dulaya Hari Adi Kori Amara Dulaya Mukundavasi Oshadikaya Jaya Mukundavasi Oshadikaya Shankha Bhaje Ganta Bhaje Karataya Bhaje Ganta baje Madhur baje Ganta baje Ganta baje Madhur baje Madhur Bahu koti chandrajini vadana ujvala Bahu koti chandrajini vadana ujvala Radhe Sevana Mala Ore Jalamala Ala Desevanamala Ore Jalamala Vayuga Narada Preme Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Krishna Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Sanyavadi Satari Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Nirvishesha Sanyavadi Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktarinda Chaitanya Prabhu Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktarinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Jaya Shri Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare
Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parabhajaka Jasatara Satasri Srimad Divine Grace Shilavai Charana Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parabhajaka Asatara Satasri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Premsikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudhi Gaura Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Gira Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Gangamani Ki Jai, Jamunamani Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Srimati Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. Lord Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Devi Ki Jai, Shri Shri Gaurnitai Ki Jai, Lord Lashinga Deva Ki Jai, Shri Shalagram Shilas Ki Jai, Shri Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhaktavinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glory to Shri Shri Guru and Garanga, glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Namaste Narasingaya
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, everybody, for our Sunday program this evening. Our feast sponsors for today, we have Gerald Goldberg Prabhuji, Hari Bol. We have Damodar Swarup Prabhuji and family who is sponsoring for Prabhuji's father, Mahendra Singh Prabhuji, Hari Bol. We also have Anisha Mataji and family who are sponsoring for Mataji's mother, Vijay Lakshmi Garg Mataji, who is not keeping well. And we also have Nanda Gopal Prabhuji and Prannath Prabhuji who are sponsoring for the spiritual benefit of Tanmay Prabhu's young nephew, his sister's son, Vivan Dhanil Raval Prabhuji, who most unfortunately met with an accident and left his body at a very tender age. Request all devotees to keep him in your prayers. If anybody else is interested in sponsoring the feast for today or for any of our upcoming Sunday programs, you can be one of our sponsors for only $125. For that, you may contact His Grace Pyare Mohan Prabhuji or Her Grace Jiva Mataji. Is there anyone who is visiting an ISKCON center for the first time? We have our regular visitors today. We usually welcome our new visitors with a special gift, but looks like we have all of our regular visitors today. Oh, visiting for the first time? Hari Bol. We welcome you with a loud Hari Bol. And Hari Bol. Hari Bol Mataji. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. So we usually welcome our guests with a book by our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada. Do we have Tirthapad Madhav Prabhu? Yeah. So Prabhuji will be giving you a gift that is written by our founder Acharya. And we request you not to keep it on the floor because it's a sacred book. And before you leave, Mataji and family, You can share your contact details with Tirthapad Madhav Prabhu so that we can keep you informed about our upcoming festivals. Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu. Talking about our upcoming festivals, next Sunday, December 12th, at ISKCON of Connecticut, we're going to celebrate Gita Jayanti. Haribo! The actual day of Gita Jayanti, the advent of the Bhagavad Gita, is on December 14th, but we're celebrating it here in our temple on a Sunday. And ISKCON has taken a target of distributing about 2.2 million Bhagavad Gitas worldwide on the occasion of Gita Jayanti. And we, as part of ISKCON of Connecticut, are trying to own a little part of that share, a little part of that endeavor. So if anybody is interested in contributing towards that, you can contact Ganapati Govind Prabhuji. For this special occasion, we have Bhagavad Gita set, hardbound Bhagavad Gita sets. A set of 16 books is available only for $125. And a set of soft copy Bhagavad Gitas, each box contains 24 books, is available only for $108. So if you want to avail of this opportunity, if you want to get one set for yourself or for distributing, you can contact Ganapati Govind Prabhuji. December 14th is also Ekadashi, Mokshada Ekadashi, the day, and it is recommended for those of us who can to fast from grains, beans, peas and legumes and chant more rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, engage in more spiritual activities, read more of Srila Prabhupada's books. Fast break is the day after, December 15th. And with that, now we will have more chanting for our free sponsors. Request devotees again to keep in your prayer Twanil Prabhuji, so that, Vivan Prabhuji, so that, we have a smooth passage to the spiritual planets for the young Vivan Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते वेदांत स्वामी नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि all the devotees to consider praying for Vivan. He was less than 4 years old. Someone ran over his body in Ahmedabad and he left his body, so it's a sad event. So maybe devotees' prayers can help solace Tanmay and his family. So with the mood of praying for the spiritual benefit of all the sponsors and especially Vivan, please chant with your heart. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare
Hare
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya 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 Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Hare Ram, Hare Ram ki baat. Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nameva Kevalam, Kalau Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva Gatiranyatha. Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nameva Kevalam, Kalau Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva Gatiranyatha. Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nameva Kevalam, Kalau Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva Gatiranyatha.
Shri Harinam
Sankirtan. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. We have plates of Mahaprasadam for our feast sponsors. Untitled Chapter Prabhuji ki Jai. Do we have Prabhuji here? Looks like we don't have Prabhuji. Damodar Swarup Prabhuji and family ki Jai. Mahendra Singh Prabhuji ki Jai. And we have Tulsi, right? Tulsi, are you here? All right, we'll keep it once. I think they're downstairs, so we can give it to them. Anisha Mataji and family ki Jai. Vijay Lakshmi Garg Mataji ki Jai. Nandagopal Prabhu, Anisha Mataji requested you to collect her prasadam. And finally, we have Vivan Prabhuji ki Jai, Vivan Prabhuji Spiritual Passage ki Jai, Tanmay Prabhuji and family ki Jai, Nandagopal Prabhuji and Pranath Prabhuji ki Jai. Hari Bol. With that, we are going to conclude our Sunday Feast program for today. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining. Please come forward for darshan, partake Charnamrit, and after that, you can head outside this door and collect your to-go box prasadam. Hare Krishna.